Let's keep talking a little bit about foreign policy. One other Joe Biden foreign policy note. Joe Biden did have a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I'm going to say this in a particular way, but I'm not necessarily attaching value judgment to it. Joe Biden stood up to Vladimir Putin during this phone call in a way that Donald Trump never did. Now, that doesn't mean we're cheering for Joe Biden to go to war with Russia. We're not. This doesn't mean we are cheering for Joe Biden to be unnecessarily hostile or adversarial with Vladimir Putin. It almost shouldn't even be a big deal that this is how Joe Biden managed the phone call with Vladimir Putin. It's just not the way Donald Trump operated. Donald Trump was enamored by and deferred to various authoritarian leaders around the world. We now have a readout from the White House, and we will look at it together. This was released yesterday. It reads, President Joseph R. Biden Jr. spoke today with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. They discussed a number of regional and global issues, including the intent of the United States and Russia to pursue a strategic stability dialogue on a range of arms control and emerging security issues, building on the extension of the New START treaty. President Biden also made clear that the United States will act firmly in defense of its national interests in response to Russia's actions such as cyber intrusions and election interference, specifically referring to the cyber intrusions that we know Russia was involved in recently and the election interference that we know Russia attempted recently. The readout goes on to say President Biden emphasized the United States' unwavering commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The president voiced our concerns over the sudden Russian military buildup in occupied Crimea on Ukraine's borders and called on Russia to de-escalate tensions. President Biden reaffirmed his goal of building a stable and predictable relationship with Russia, consistent with U.S. interests, and proposed a summit meeting in a third country in the coming months. This is, it's not a big deal in that this is how most presidents deal with other adversaries who we know have geopolitical ambitions that may be at a conflict with those of the United States. It's not about picking a side. We have countries, nation states exist. We have multinational collaboration. We have treaties. We have agreements. And we expect our leaders to look out for the best interests of our country. That's it. And that's already more than Donald Trump ever did. Biden released the content of the call. Nobody ate the notes. I mean, remember, when I'm talking about that, there was the story of Omarosa, who said that she walked in on Donald Trump eating paper after a meeting with Michael Cohen in what she believed was an effort to destroy sensitive information. Okay, that's the reference with eating paper. Unlike the previous administration, the fact that we have this readout also means that the entire transcript of this call is available to intelligence members that have the appropriate clearance and access, as opposed to never being created, as was the case with some of Donald Trump's conversations with Vladimir Putin. So everything is being managed in a completely different way. It's not about we want war with Russia. It's not about militarism. We just want a president that's firm and isn't obviously railroaded by every authoritarian autocrat that he talks to and seems taken with. Remember, Trump displeased with Angela Merkel, displeased with, for a period of time, Theresa May, displeased with Justin Trudeau and Emmanuel Macron, our traditional allies, but taken by Putin's shows of strength, impressed by Kim Jong-un. It was very, very backwards. And so this is where nobody's rallying for war. There's going to be some on the revolutionary left who will say that a commentary like mine is beating drums of war against Russia or arguing for hostility. We're not doing any of those things. It's simply a president who is able to be cordial but firm in a phone call with another world leader. It's a president who's not so impressed with himself that he's even having the conversation and is just able to be railroaded and bamboozled by anyone. It's just a president who understands geopolitics and understands how you deal with these situations. So I think there's a lot of good signs here of Joe Biden in the last 24 hours, firm with Putin in a phone call, saying we are getting out of Afghanistan. There is a date certain. We're getting out on September 11th, 2021. These are good signs geopolitically in terms of foreign policy from Joe Biden. Doesn't mean he's going to do everything right. Doesn't mean we'll agree with everything he does, but certainly much of the fear mongering from the right and some on the left as well about Joe Biden's going to invade everybody and expand our presence. And it does not seem to be what he's doing for the time being. And that's a good thing. I'm glad to see that. Let me know your thoughts. You can find me on Twitter at @dpakman. Many so-called healthy snacks don't taste that great. They don't fill you up. They don't satisfy a craving, which is why you should check out our sponsor, Monk Pack, and their keto nut and seed bars. Delicious sweet snacks with only a gram of sugar or less, 2 to 3 grams of net carbs, and just 150 calories. Perfect for the keto or low carb diet, or anybody who just generally tries to eat a low sugar diet like me. I love the Monk Pack keto nut and seed bars. Just a great balance of sweet and salty, soft and chewy, but with a nice crunch from the nuts and seeds. You can get great flavors like caramel, not caramel. Come on, guys. Caramel sea salt dark chocolate, peanut butter dark chocolate. That's my personal favorite. They'll give you all of your money back if you don't love it. Go to monkpack.com. The link is down below, and you'll get 20% off any of their products when you use the coupon code Pakman.